So the pandemic kind of threw a spanner in the works in terms of everything globally, but in terms of our work on the viral marketing, the original plan was for us to release it in June of 2020, because the film was meant to be coming out in 2021, and then do a years-long campaign building up all these sightings of dinosaurs around the world, to then release Dinotracker. For the release of the movie, sorry. So, but then everything got pushed back a year. There was that sort of period where we thought it wasn't going to happen. I think it was like November of 2021, October, November time, when it was like, it ain't going to happen. And we were all just talking about that. Samantha...
The nights were drawing in, it was getting cold, and there was still no news.
Yeah, so Samantha, how was...
Conversation.
What's that, Sam?
Oh, sorry. I remember there was a conversation you said to, I think it was like me and Russell, and you were like, I feel bad if it doesn't happen for Chris and Samantha.
Well,
bringing them on board.
That's what I was going to say to ask Samantha, like, how did you feel? Because it must have been so surreal.
I mean, yeah, it was like, you brought Chris and I on, and we were super excited to get started, and then, was just waiting. Of course, I think it was a little easier because I hadn't worked on it before, so it's just kind of like, well, if it happens, I'm ready to go, but
I just remember this constant feeling like me and Tim were dangling a carrot in front of the donkey. Not that you and Chris are donkeys, but like we were like, hey, look, come work on Jurassic, and then it got taken away, and I felt so guilty. I was like, oh no. Because then the nature of this business, you don't know if you're going to get any work at all, ever. Yeah. So like you could be used for something to make something really cool, but then you may never get a call again for anything because it depends on, who's doing what. So I felt really bad for you and Chris bringing you on, but it was, I believe it was just before Christmas of 2021. Myself and Tim were discussing Jurassic and kind of like this as a missed opportunity because we felt like it wasn't going to happen. It actually felt very similar to me as like the year 2008. So in 2008 we lost Michael Crichton and Stan Winston in that same year, and Kathleen Kennedy was doing interviews saying the franchises we're likely not going to continue it, but and then lo and behold, only a few years later they announced Jurassic Park 4 and that. So it felt to me very similar to that. It was like, oh, nothing's going to happen. They're going to move on. Because we knew we were going to be... we were tasked with making sighting videos. That was what they wanted us to do. But then we heard rumours that, they were offering that gig to ILM and Tippett Studio and another unnamed company. And so I was like, oh, no, this isn't going to happen. But me and Tim were discussing this, and then we were like, we should send an email to Universal. Just being like, look, this is what we've done in the past. This is what we can do. Please hear us out. But then they replied once we sent that email, and it was just like, yes, okay, we're going to be doing this. But we knew we were then in the running for doing the sighting videos against other companies. So that made me and Tim really nervous. So we were like, we're not out of the woods yet. And then Universal said, well, you're in the running for doing the sightings. Do you want to show us what you can do? And they sent us an email basically asking what dinosaurs do you want to use, and they gave us pick 3. I really like the Fallen Kingdom baryonyx, so I asked for that, or the baryonyx in general, the Triceratops and the Pteranodon. And the reason I picked those 3 is because they were 3 dinosaurs and a flying reptile that gave us the opportunity to do 3 different types of sightings with different types of animals. So you have a theropod, a quadruped, and one that flies. So we could actually, show what we could do. And Manuel worked on this video of a trike crossing the road, which Sam, you had shot. When did you shoot that video originally, which we ended up using in the campaign?
It was we had that call, didn't we, like the end of 2018, and that's kind of when you sort of said like what we'd be doing, and and we went over sort of like the plot of Dominion and what's going to happen at the time, because you said the script weren't even written then. So
this must have been like early 2019, I think.
No, I've still got my notepad. It was the end. I think it was November 2018.
Oh, even better. Earlier.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And I shot that video in February 2019 because we were, there was no kind of delay yet. I think like the initial conversation we had would be like, oh, we'll be starting it sort of mid to late next year, which would have been 2019 or, like early 2020. Yeah, something like that. Like, we'll be starting it soon. So we were like throwing around ideas and things like that, and we're talking about this, that, and the other. And I was like, you know what? There's a really cool road right near my house, which I, imagine like driving along it at night, and all of a sudden like these big dinosaurs are just crossing it. I can't even remember at the time what dinosaurs we were discussing. I think even when I shot it, I had kind of like a Carnotaurus with like the eyes sort of gleaming, like a cat's eyes.
It's funny you say that, because I did concept art using your background, and I put a Stiggy Moloch in it.
Yeah,
so we've had 3 different dinosaurs crossing that road at some point in this campaign.
But yeah, February 2019, to answer the question, was when that was shot.
I want to get into like the whole behind the scenes of that video, considering that was our first one. So Manuel took the old video you shot in 2019, right? February 2019. And he took the Triceratops that ILM sent us, and then did this sort of roughish version of it standing in the middle of the road, and we showed Universal that, and then he did a version where it was crossing the road, and we showed it to Colin when we all had a big meeting with him and the people from Universal. And it was at that point, I think, and your guys' memory might be better than mine, so Colin was basically like, give these guys the job, basically, after he saw that.
He on the call, didn't he? Like, we was talking about it, and then Manuel, like, it was played, and then he was like, yeah, that's it.
There was like silence
exactly
after that, I swear. Like, you could just hear them kind of like being like, okay, yeah, that's kind of exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, so I don't know 100% who else was in the running for the job. I heard rumors of like ILM and Tippett, but if it was them, sorry guys, Manuel is just that good. Like,
snooze you lose.
Yeah. It's not us.
We're awake
Manuel.
for 3 years.
There's one person to target, Manuel. Go send all your hate mail to him. But no, yeah. So that was really good. And but when we came to, we knew we were going to get that, I went back to Manuel and we were discussing the trike video, because there was a few things, missing. Obviously, it wasn't completely polished. Like, he wanted to add dirt across the road, because the trikes are crossing the road. But I noticed something, that the lighting was a bit off. So Sam, you had to go back and record yourself, right?
It wasn't just that, the lighting was off. You and Manuel were having like a full-on debate about the lighting. And I was actually on Manuel's side, because I was like, he kind of had it right, because you were like, no, the lights wouldn't be like that. But because it was my wife's car, and she's got a Nissan Juke, they got these weird lights that actually point in like weird directions. So yeah, I was like, there's only one way we can settle this, is doing a lighting test. So what? 2 years later, go try and find, because that road, and you can see in the lighting test video that it looks slightly different because it's all overgrown now and all of that. So I trudged down there with the wife, and I'm like, kind of just, you film, you be like the 2 years ago filming, and what I'm going to do is cross the road and do all these like movements. But also I took a big plastic red bin, because I was like, this kind of looks like the size of a Triceratops leg, so I was like moving it along just to try and get like lighting references and things like that, sort of see how it would like reflect on the surroundings and all this, that, and the other.
But Manuel probably would have I feel like the source would have been, he'd have put some lights in, but they wouldn't have been like exactly how the lights were set up in your wife's car when you were shooting it, because you said like,
it probably would have just been done cinematically, wouldn't it? Whatever makes it kind of look best.
Yeah.
Just for a more impressive end result. Obviously you can always have a little bit of leeway with your kind of artistic license for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll discuss with Manuel when I get on the call.
Which then also literally opens the door for the pinging sound when the doors open.
Oh,
That's a whole can of worms.
We'll get onto that because I've actually got a clip of something I can show. I did the sound design on that, and before I get onto the pinging, I just want to quickly mention for people who like sound design out there, one of the things I wanted to add is like one of the old school Jurassic Park 1 trike sounds when that trike roars, this like really deep guttural sound that, you know, the sick Triceratops makes in the first film.
Oh, wow.
Okay, of course. Don't be scared.
And I was like, I don't think I've heard that in a long time. And that's one of the things that fans might have noticed, like in the sound design of a lot of the videos that I worked on and Manuel did. So I think Manuel did 3 videos, 4 including the 2001 Pteranodon one he did the sound for. And then I did the rest. Oh, except for the Moser one, Ross, that was yours. But yeah, so one of the things I wanted to do was just capture that the classic Jurassic feeling for sound design. Like, these dinosaurs have got to be loud. They've got to be like impressive. You know, the experience of movies and storytelling, you know, 50% of it, if it is a film, is sound. So you want to get that feeling across. And obviously with all these different types of sightings and whatnot, you know, we had different types of sounds for each video. So, you know, the trike outside the car, I knew obviously we'd have the sound would be muffled from being inside the car. But then that's when I had the idea to put the pinging door sound. So to have this, like, one of the doors is ajar. So I could play with the sound a little bit more and add a little bit more sound in there that makes it sound a little bit like a mix of both. Like, you're in the car, but you can kind of still hear outside of the car a little bit more than you otherwise would. But the pinging door sound came about because the video was originally going to be set in Southend, right, Sam? It was going to be set exactly where you filmed it. Wait, Sam, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. It was meant to be set in Southend, literally right until the last minute when they changed it. They were like, "Nah, we need to spread them out a bit." So
yeah, they moved it to Ireland because they wanted to spread them out. So, but yeah, so the pinging sound, most people associate with American cars, right? They don't associate it with British cars. However, British cars do have it. Some models do. A Toyota has it, I believe, and a few others. So I added it in there. I did look it up before I added it in. I was like, do British cars have this pinging door sound? And I found examples of it. And yeah, so, but when that video released, I know like a few people online on YouTube when they were doing reviews, they were like, they don't have that pinging sound in the UK. And it's like, no, they do. Like, I
researched a video a couple of months ago, didn't you, saying you found a car that had it.
Ah, well, I actually was on holiday in Arran in Scotland, on the Isle of Arran, and my friend who we went to stay with, he opened his car door and left it open to go get his dog, and it started pinging exactly the same as, or very close to, what is heard in that video.
There you go. A British car with that sound.
But yeah, so I have video footage of that being in the UK. So yeah, but the pinging sound, the main reason I wanted to add that in was to add an extra layer of tension, because a pinging alarm will psychologically add like a raised layer of attention to the person watching it, because they're like, oh, there's an alarm going off, like something's going wrong. So yeah, the idea of having that is just to add a bit of like spookiness to the video of this trike crossing the road. So
pretty sure I remember filming. I don't know. I was just about to have a little look at it on the kind of on the drive, because I remember shooting a video just with my phone, because I seem to remember. Yeah, that must have been like 2018 or 19 when you said, you know, I think we're gonna be like looking at making these videos of dinosaurs out in the wild. And I remember filming this, and it feels like I filmed it absolutely ages ago, but it can't have been that long ago. But it was a long time before they ever got in touch about us actually doing it. But I remember that preparatory work, like getting stuff, you know, getting just assets and material ready, you know, as soon as they gave us the call. then we'd start producing stuff. But yeah, we had so much stuff ready to go from way back.
Well, that's
And,
actually something I wanted to talk about in the early days concerning the 2001 Pteranodon footage. But Sam, before we get into that, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, because I went to Vegas January 2019, and I was filming. You know, we could have done the like the follow up to the end of Fallen Kingdom, and I was filming at the outside the Paris casino, which the footage is still somewhere in that drive. I stumbled across it sort of like last year, but you know, we never used it ultimately because
nothing ever gets discarded. Maybe one day in the future.
Oh yeah,
maybe one day. But I think when in discussion with Manuel, one of the things is because all the decor of like the local casinos had changed, like all their billboards and that since the film, and you know, had like giant 2019 signs everywhere and that. So it's just like that. You know, it kind of got discarded that way. But yeah, that's what I mean. We were sort of, as soon as we got the word, we were sort of like throwing ideas around, filming bits and bobs and all of that. And yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. May 2019 is when that video was from that I filmed. So yeah,
see what I mean? It's just a long time.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting thinking of the time frame of these early days because you think this is some perspective for people watching. You know, Fallen Kingdom comes out. In the story of Jurassic, dinosaurs are beginning to go global because of the auction and, you know, selling stuff and people pillaging sauna and God knows what else. And as soon as that film comes out, that's when we sort of get the call from Colin around sort of summer 2018. Me and Tim are sitting with Colin discussing, or September, October time around there. I've got the date somewhere, but the exact date I don't have it on me right now. But so as soon as the film's out, if you know, there's like a month or two passes, and then they're contacting us for work. We had originally had Colin confirm that he wanted us back to work on the viral campaign when he came on to do the making of the Dinosaur Protection Group video for my YouTube channel, and he said, yeah, we'll get you back for the third one. So I had his word recorded. So in this whole wait period, I was like, I have some leverage here with Universal, but I never needed to use it, which was good. But yeah, so it really early on, and I remember in November of 2018, you know, I was on honeymoon in Japan, and I was thinking about the success of the San Diego footage that we did for Extinction Now, which Manuel did an amazing job on. And that's what I think turned Colin's head towards us being able to do the Dinotracker videos, because he was so impressed with that, and he kept talking about it whenever I was discussing with him, and he almost put it in Dominion on the girl's phone when they're talking to Grant, but he opted to put a more recent dinosaur sighting with the T-Rex attacking the drive-in. But yeah, so I was on honeymoon in Japan, and I took these pictures of. Oh no, actually, before that, I spoke to Manuel and said, wouldn't it be cool if we did someone filming Vic Hoskins recording the capture of the Pteranodons? And he sent me, after a few days, this rough version, but it still looks really good, of someone on the ground filming the Pteranodons flying over these trees in a forest, and then you see the helicopter chasing them. And I liked it a lot. I was like, yeah, I could see that video proved to me that Manuel could do the helicopter and having the Pteranodons and make it look real. But then I said to him, when I was on honeymoon, I was in Kyoto up this mountain that I had monkeys all around me, like wild monkeys everywhere. But I was up on this mountain and I was filming them, and I turned around and I could see Kyoto, the city, down below in this valley, and it just clicked. I was like, what if the video was shot in a forest like how he'd done before, because he filmed it in Spain. And I was like, but what if you, because most people think with flying reptiles and dinosaurs like that, like you're on the ground looking up. That's how he shot the video. But I was like, what if you were level with the action? Like, it's like you were on a mountain, but you're not flying with them, but you're up there where the action's taking place. So I pitched that idea to Manuel, and I took a picture of Kyoto from exactly where it was, and then I photoshopped some layers, and then I edited a really, really basic animatic of kind of what I could see in my mind's eye of like how the visual should look. I sent that to Manuel, and then he sent back just this amazing early version of what the final one would basically be, and I was like, you've nailed it. And then that, after a few more tweaks and that, he nailed the look of it. video was completed so early, and I kept it a secret from fans for a long time because I was like, I don't want anyone to see this unless it's given the official green light by Universal to be used and added into canon. So that was sat in our archives for years.
That was part of it. Sorry, was the weight of like what it implied and the kind of the ramifications it had for the timeline as well, because obviously that's confirming a big chunk of the kind of like post Jurassic Park 3 storyline, isn't it? So obviously you want to make sure that when that goes out, that's actually, like you say, greenlit and confirmed by Universal to be canon, essentially.
Well, I mean, it was canon. We wrote it on Masrani Global originally that Vic Hoskins captured those Pteranodons in Canada in 2001, and then we also mentioned it, I think, twice on the Dinosaur Protection Group website, but it was never ever seen. And so I was like, the one way to solidify it even more into canon is have video, because fans respond to visual stuff way more than they do just written text on a website. Like, as much as I love and I'm proud of our work on those previous websites, you know, the way I've seen fans talk about our work, that it's nothing compared to when they talk about something that's like, you know, live action or animated, or something that's like visually, like the motion comics and stuff. Like, even as much as I have, you know, grievances with those, I could see the fans talking about it, and there was a different tone to the way they talked about it. The viral marketing stuff we worked on is much more sort of serious and grounded, and you know, yeah, as role playing, because when you go on those websites, it's meant to be like you're in universe.
I think that was definitely one of the changes as well, because obviously with DPG and Masrani, that was all, well, I said, like you say, it was all just kind of written stuff, which is excellent and really good at building canon, but obviously having to move from just written and stills to something that's really focused on full motion video and CG stuff, you know, obviously that really shifts where your efforts go to.
Especially,
I mean, that was one of the things.
It's funny because the scope of that one video, the Pteranodon one, if you think about it, is really big, because it's like got 2 helicopters in it. One's giving chase to 2 Pteranodons, and then there's a Chinook taking off with a captured one in it. And it's like, to make that believable in itself is amazing. And Manuel did that years ago, and it's also bringing back, you know, quote unquote, a legacy dinosaur character from the previous films. You know, a lot of these new films, they rebuild the dinosaurs or they change the designs and stuff, but this was like bringing back an old one, you know, a recognizable one. So Manuel had to take those Pteranodons and study the film, and he rebuilt them, you know, completely from scratch. But yeah, so, you know, he made that video, and it was amazing, but like, we held on to that for a very, very long time. And so it was great to see it come full circle when it was released on Dinotracker as an Easter egg in the Vancouver text. You know, I've seen videos on YouTube of like the Gaming Beaver, for one example, going through all the sightings when Dinotracker launched, and he goes on there, but he doesn't click the hyperlink, and I'm like, the Easter egg is right there, and he doesn't click on it, but he discovered it later on. But things like that are great, because it just shows how, you know, these websites, they have depth to them. So
you fought for that video as well.
Yes, I did, because obviously Universal were the team we were working with. They were a little bit you know, hesitant to use it, and Colin liked it, but we, you know, I was trying to push that to get that in the film somehow, and we did sign some stuff to have it potentially used in there, but it never did. But yeah, so I always pushed it, and then you know, made the case for it, and basically I just said that, you know, this is one of those Easter eggs that fans will go crazy for, and they did. And obviously when that released, Universal recognized it, because when we had a call with them, they were like, yeah, that's really popular, isn't it? And then they were asking, well, what more nostalgic stuff can you add in this? And it's like, okay, well, get us those raptors, basically. That's where we use that to leverage the JP3 raptors from ILM, and
there was a real switch, wasn't there, from that kind of first call with Colin, and around that time where they were like, not Colin, but, you know, Universal were like, we don't really want to focus on the past, because we had a lot of talk about, you know, legacy stuff and, you know, historical stuff, putting that in there, and they were like, no, we just kind of want to focus on the now, like Dominion, you know, even referring back to sort of like Fallen Kingdom stuff. They were like, no, we just kind of want to focus on the now.
Yeah,
And
because
then,
we wanted to have an Easter egg of the T-Rex breaking into the zoo scene at the end of Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah.
But they were a bit hesitant about using that, as you just said. But then we eventually they got won over, and we had it on there.
Yeah. We drip fed a few things on there, and then it got to the point when it was like, "Have you got any more Easter eggs? You got any more Easter eggs?" And we were just like,
"We need more."
Loading them up, weren't we? And
yeah, and
like,
I think
should we do this? Should we do that? You know, it was just coming up on the spot with things. You know, like, oh, what about like an animal control veterinarian report, and you know, just for the end of Fallen Kingdom, the T-Rex breaking into the zoo, and you know, and we was putting these things out there, and they were loving it.
And that's the thing. It's I don't blame them for wanting to look forward, because I understand movie marketing, and they've got the new film coming out and they want to set up the world and stuff. But when it comes to the viral websites, these are diehard fans are the first ones on that website. They're the first ones to go fully in, dig right in, and try and unearth everything. So you want to make their experience so good that they go and tell everyone else about it. So then they come to the website and look at it, and that's just a sign of good marketing, in my opinion. So I'm glad they eventually were won over more. They wanted Easter eggs, obviously, but because they wanted a lot of bias in stuff, that was always going to be in there.
That was one of the issues we had with it, wasn't it? Because obviously they wanted Easter eggs, but the whole point of an Easter egg is to kind of reference something that has happened before or that people are familiar with, and you're kind of expanded upon it. But obviously it was hard to include stuff that would be relevant if you hadn't yet seen the film. So I think we managed to pull it off with definitely some of them, but obviously that did kind of restrict how well we could or the types of things we could add into the website. But then when we got a bit more leeway after kind of being able to wow them with some of the stuff we'd created already, that kind of made things a little bit easier, I think.
Oh, very easy, smooth like butter. So